We just had a lunch meeting by conference call this time, aware of the growing concern about the rise of coronavirus, and we adjusted our meeting to reflect our concern about it being extra safe in conducting what we believe is essential work for the American people. The subject of additional coronavirus relief is on the minds of lots of our members. You've already spoken to probably Senator Collins, Senator Romney, and others who've been meeting with Democrats about a possible way forward. We received a proposal through a letter from Speaker Pelosi and Senator Schumer last night. Let me tell you where I think we are. Leader McCarthy and I have been in discussions with the Secretary of the Treasury and the President's Chief of Staff to try to ascertain what the President would actually sign into law. And I think we have a sense of what that is. I laid that out in the call that we had just a little while ago. We're going to send that out to all the offices and get some feedback to see how our members react to a proposal that we can say for sure would be signed into law. I think the one thing we all agree on is that we don't have time for messaging games. We don't have time for lengthy negotiations. The issue is, do we want to get a result? And I like to remind everybody that the way you get a result is you have to have a presidential signature. So I felt the first thing we needed to do is to find out what the President would in fact sign. We believe we've got the answer to that. We're vetting that on our side, and then we'll let you know later whether we think there's any way forward. But certainly we know we can say, I hope, that this is something that would be signed into law by the President, be done quickly, deal with the things that we can agree on now. And I think we all know that after the first of the year, there's likely to be a discussion about some additional package of some size next year, depending upon what the new administration wants to pursue.
COVID relief, you alluded to the bipartisan framework that came out today. Have you had a chance to look at that? And since you're talking about the importance of the President signing something, the House would have to pass something too. So why wouldn't a bipartisan proposal that could potentially also pass in that body be a better way to go?
Yeah, we just don't have time to waste time. We have a couple of weeks left here. Obviously, it does require bipartisan support to get out of the Congress, but it requires a presidential signature. And this government is in place for sure for the next month. And I think the place to start is, are we actually making a law, or are we just making a point? And I think the way you make a law for sure is you know you've got a presidential signature. So we'll see how it goes forward. I think the one thing we all agree on, as I said, waiting till next year is not an answer. We need a targeted relief bill, including things that we can agree on.
The House Majority Leader has said that House Democrats are likely bringing back earmarks next year. Some of your Senate Republican colleagues say that with Biden likely being in control of the administration, Republicans should consider bringing back earmarks here in the Senate. Do you have an opinion about that?
Take your mask down and say that again.
Earmarks. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says House Democrats are bringing back earmarks next year. Yeah,
I haven't given any real thought to that. I did hear that Hoyer said that. That's a decision, obviously, the majority's decided to make over there, and it'll be interesting to see how the Republicans in the House respond to it.
Yeah. In terms of the timing for a COVID relief bill, does it need to ride on the government funding bill? What should we expect kind of on a horizon when it needs to come out, when it needs to come to fruition?
Well, first, we're working really hard to finish up the omnibus bill, as Senator Blunt pointed out. Obviously, given the challenges of moving things across the Senate floor speedily, that would be a vehicle to add on whatever coronavirus relief bill we know will get a presidential signature. And obviously, as was discussed earlier, it'll have to have Democratic votes to get through the House. But I think it'll all likely come in one package.
Given the concerns you've raised over the years about the electoral process, integrity in the election, why have you not spoken out, and why have you been quiet amid the president's claims that the election has been rigged and it's been stolen from him?
As I've said repeatedly, we have this government for the next 3 weeks for sure. And what I'm focusing on is trying to accomplish as much as we can during this 3-week period, which requires dealing with the government that we have right now. The future will take care of itself. As I've said repeatedly, we're going to go through these processes. The Electoral College is going to meet December the 14th. There'll be an inauguration January 20th.
You keep saying that the president, you want a bill that would pass COVID relief that would have the president's signature. But he's been far apart from Senate Republicans. He's been willing to go as high as $1.8 trillion. Are you coming up on your number? And is there anything from the compromise package that you saw today, which included state and local aid?
Yeah, well, what I'm doing, maybe I wasn't very clear about, what I'm doing is talking to Secretary Mnuchin, who's been deputized by the president, to indicate what he's willing to sign. And Leader McCarthy and I went over with Meadows and Mnuchin this morning, for sure, what we know will get a presidential signature. That's where we began the discussion at lunch today. I'm sending that proposal to all offices. It's probably been done by now. We're going to get feedback about how our members feel about it, and then to determine the way forward. Yeah.
Is the Judy Schultz, that nomination dead, or do you think you'll be able to try to reconsider that before March 20th?
Well, as you may recall, I changed my vote and made a motion to reconsider, so we can reconsider it in the future. Thanks a lot, everybody.